On November 10, 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald vanished into Lake Superior, taking 29 men with it. No distress call, just sudden radio silence. Its wreckage, hauntingly preserved in freezing water, waited 17 years to be found. But when a modern underwater drone finally reached the hull, what it captured challenged everything we thought we knew about those last minutes beneath the waves. The real hidden story was just beginning. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald pressed on through a November gale, its hull groaning under the weight of 26,000 tons of taconite pellets. Captain Ernest McSorley, a mariner with more than 4 decades on the Great Lakes, guided his crew through waves that towered higher than the wheelhouse windows. Wind gusts hit 60 miles per hour, snow squalls erased the horizon, and the ship rode 3 feet lower in the water than it once had, a detail that mattered as the storm worsened. Shortly after 7 p.m., the radio crackled with McSorley's voice. To the Arthur M. Anderson, the Fitzgerald's companion ship, he said, "We are holding our own." The words sounded steady, almost routine, but moments earlier, he had confided to the Swedish vessel Ava Fors, "I have a bad list, lost both radars, and am taking heavy seas over the deck, one of the worst seas I've ever been in." This contradiction, public calm, private alarm, hung in the air. On the chart, the Fitzgerald's last known position was just 17 miles from Whitefish Point, so close to shelter yet cut off by blinding snow and wind. The Anderson's radar tracked the Fitzgerald's blip as the 2 ships kept radio contact, each battered by the same relentless waves. Then, at 7:10 p.m., the Fitzgerald's signal vanished. No mayday, no final plea. The lake swallowed the ship and its crew in silence. With no distress call and no witnesses, the true nature of those last minutes slipped beneath the surface. Only the battered hull, waiting in the dark, could offer clues to what happened next. Beneath the surface of Lake Superior, the world changes. At a depth of 530 feet, sunlight fades to nothing. The water hovers just above freezing year-round, a temperature so cold it slows time itself. Here, oxygen is scarce. Bacteria and other life that would normally feast on wood or metal struggle to survive. Instead of decay, there is stasis. Paint still clings to steel. Lettering remains legible on the hull. Even deck fittings and railings, battered by the storm, linger in place as if the ship had only recently settled on the lake bed. For 17 years, the Edmund Fitzgerald lay undisturbed in this darkness. The wreck was first detected by sonar in 1976, but the technology of the time offered only rough outlines. It wasn't until 1992 that remotely operated vehicles, ROVs, brought new eyes to the site. These machines, built to withstand crushing pressure and absolute blackness, carry high-resolution cameras, sonar, and powerful lights. They glide through the water, guided by pilots on the surface, able to document every angle without disturbing the site. Lake Superior's cold, clear water preserves evidence with an almost unnatural clarity. What would have vanished in salt water after a few years still waits here. Torn steel, scattered tools, even the ship's name. The ROV's approach is not just a technical feat. It's a negotiation with the lake itself, a chance to examine details untouched by time, in a place where the past is held in suspension. With each pass, the drone prepares to reveal what the storm and the silence left behind. 2 massive pieces of the Edmund Fitzgerald rest on the lake bed, separated by a span of 170 feet. The bow sits upright, its forward edge buried deep in silt. The stern lies inverted, twisted and crushed, as if wrenched from the rest of the ship by forces too sudden for human response. This split is not a matter of chance. Marine engineers studying the wreck point to the nature of the break. Torn steel plates at the midsection, seams bent sharply outward and upward, and internal frames sheared with violence. These features suggest a catastrophic failure, metal pushed past its limits in a matter of seconds. Years of hauling heavy ore across the Great Lakes, flexing through storms and ice, left the Fitzgerald's hull with hidden fatigue. Inspection records from just days before the sinking noted routine stress damage, scheduled for repair but never completed. In the chaos of the storm, with the ship riding lower in the water than ever before, those weaknesses may have become fatal. The breakup occurred just forward of the third cargo hold, a critical point where the structure absorbed the most punishment from waves and cargo weight. The distance between the two main sections, along with the pattern of torn steel, supports the view that the hull failed under extreme stress, possibly as the ship plunged bow first, or perhaps just before it struck bottom. This geometry doesn't answer every question, but it rules out a gentle drift to the lake bed. The Fitzgerald broke apart violently, leaving behind a forensic puzzle written in bent metal and cold silence. Inspection records from October 31, 1975 revealed a troubling detail. The hatch covers on the Edmund Fitzgerald were not sealing as they should. Repairs were scheduled for the end of the shipping season, but the ship sailed into November with water defenses already compromised. On a night when waves swept the deck again and again, every imperfect seal became a risk. The drone's high-resolution cameras traced the edges of hatch combings, finding buckled steel and clamps in the open position. On hatch 5, 14 out of 16 clamps were unfastened. Nearby, fractured combings and missing covers told a story of water forced where it was never meant to go. The debris field mapped by underwater surveys stretches between the bow and stern, a scatter of torn hatch covers, twisted railings, and lifeboat fragments. This pattern isn't random. It hints at how water might have rushed into the holds, how the ship's structure failed, and how violence echoed outward from the break. The alignment of debris, the angles of bent steel, and the position of cargo on the lake bed form a silent record of the ship's final moments. Yet every investigation has its boundary. In 2006, the United States and Canada jointly banned manned dives at the wreck, designating the site an official gravesite. Only unmanned vehicles operated with care are allowed to approach. The cold clarity of Lake Superior preserves evidence, but it also demands respect. Each pass of the drone is a reminder. Beneath the technical questions, this is a place of loss, and some answers will always remain just out of reach. Lake Superior's storms are notorious for their unpredictability, but on November 10, 1975, the atmosphere delivered something even seasoned sailors feared. Meteorologists call it the Three Sisters, a sequence where three enormous waves travel close together, each one building on the force of the last. These waves can rise over 30 feet, with the second and third often hitting before a ship can recover from the first. The Arthur M. Anderson, trailing the Edmund Fitzgerald, reported encountering such a trio. Three massive walls of water, one after another, just minutes before the Fitzgerald vanished from radar. On the Great Lakes, this pattern is rare, but when it happens, the energy delivered to a vessel's hull multiplies in seconds. The physics are simple, but the consequences are anything but. When nature stacks its forces, even the strongest steel can reach its breaking point. A single drone frame captured in the blackness below shows the Fitzgerald's bow driven deep into a gouge carved in the lake bed. The angle and shape match precisely, freezing the instant of impact. Forensic measurements confirm this is no accident of perspective. The steel and the scar fit together like a puzzle, revealing how the ship plunged nose first with tremendous force. This evidence doesn't end debate, but it does narrow the possibilities. Above the wreck, the ship's name remains visible, and each November, bells toll 29 times in memory of the crew. The lake keeps its secrets, but in this alignment of hull and earth, memory and evidence meet, reminding us that every discovery here is also an act of remembrance. On November 10, 1975, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald vanished in Lake Superior, taking all 29 crew members with her. Modern underwater drones have revealed a wreck split in two, lying 170 feet apart at a depth of over 500 feet, preserved by near-freezing water. Detailed surveys have documented torn steel, displaced hatch covers, and debris patterns, yet the exact sequence of the sinking, whether by structural failure, water ingress through the hatches, or overwhelming waves, remains debated in official reports. The drone's recent footage captured an alignment between a bow deformation and the lake bed, a clue that narrows possibilities but cannot fully resolve the cause. Decades of analysis have led to improved safety standards for Great Lakes shipping, and the Fitzgerald's bell tolls annually to honor those lost. The facts underline both the power of the lake and the limits of evidence. Some questions endure beneath the surface, but each careful investigation brings us closer to understanding what happened that night. The lake remembers, and so do we.